What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are fixing an issue that I've been having on my car. So you know from the thumbnail already pretty much what we're going to be doing today, but today we're going to be talking about fender rolling. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you go watch before this video. I'm going to link it right here up in one of the corners here. The fitment guide for Subarus and understanding how tire sizes and wheel sizes work, how they affect, you know, different suspension geometry and things like that. But that's going to give you a really good basis for understanding why you might need to roll your fenders. But I have already rolled my fenders, but today I realized that, or a couple weeks ago, I realized that I needed to roll them a bit more. I'm going to show you why. So it's going to be kind of hard to see, but right here you get a nice gouge out of the tread. So this is not part of the sidewall, so the integrity of the tire should be completely fine, but I do have that tread coming up and impacting and rubbing on the fender here. And it's just on this back left corner, so I'm gonna check the ride height and make sure that they're equal on both sides. But sometimes, you know, just the standard stock suspension, the way it's set up, the camber on the back wheels fluctuates a little bit because there's no camber adjustment on these cars, which I'll get into in a little bit. But long story short, with my setup and the ride height that I have, my tires are impacting my fender here. And it's not all the time, it's only when, you know, I hit really hard bumps at high speeds. And it's just enough to touch just for a second and just tear up the tire, chew it up a little bit. I'll show you a little bit more down here. Should be able to see small chunks taken out just from rubbing. And again, I'm not having this issue on any other part of the car, so maybe I just didn't roll this fender enough the first time, but nonetheless, I am having that issue. So what is the purpose of rolling your fender? So with any wheel or tire setup, there's going to be a certain limit that you have where that setup is going to fit or not inside the arches of your fenders so that it doesn't rub, it doesn't make contact. So that's a pretty straightforward concept. So adding camber is one way to keep your wheels and tires from rubbing. So if you add camber, the top of the wheel gets tucked farther in, which is pretty simple to understand. The other option you have is to use a lower profile tire. So if you went with a 255/35, I probably wouldn't have this issue. If I went with the 245/40 on this 8.5 width wheel, that could be an option. If I ran a lower offset or a less aggressive offset on the wheel itself, because these are plus 35, that could also suck the wheel in. So, and then the last option I have but instead of fender rolling to try to keep this from rubbing is raise the car back up. So I like the way it's I think I found the perfect ride height. It is pretty aggressive. Like I can't really fit two fingers. I can fit one finger straight in. And then on the fronts too, I'll show you that in a second, but basically I found the ride height that I think looks the greatest and performs really well, and it's just low enough where it's just high enough where I don't really scrape my lip or my underbelly or underpan or anything like that on a lot, except for some really steep driveways. And most of the time it's actually just my mud flap scraping. So like I said, I found this great ride height that I like and it looks good, but because I have the pretty aggressive wheel setup, the plus 35 with the 8.5 wheel width, and the 265/35 tires, that combination with no rear control arms that I have yet, the only other option is to roll the fenders. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do that right now. Here we have our hub. I have the Eastwood brand of fender roller right here. So it's very simple. It comes with these extra little spacers. All right, so the way that I learned is you start at the least extreme angle. So you start with instead of directly 90, you do it more of a 45-degree angle at the lip of the fender here. So we just change this adjustment, like that. And then you use this thing right here to pull it and push it. So usually you'd go to right about there. Nice easy angle. If anything, I can go a little bit less extreme, right to there. And then you just roll it while putting pressure with this big knob down here onto the fender. The big thing right here that is the most important part about rolling your fenders is applying heat. So I'm gonna grab my heat gun and show you guys that part. So usually before I'm applying heat, I push this over to one side because I'm only really focused on right here, right? This piece, so this is out of the way. We're gonna be applying heat evenly across the back side of this and mostly to this fender, this plastic piece right here I'm touching. So the back side right here. Another thing I forgot to mention, you always wanna make sure that your car is in neutral. Oh, I lost battery, but long story short, you wanna make sure that your e-brake is down so these rotors can spin. So I'm gonna put my heat gun, high setting, and just start passing it back and forth, even heat across this entire face. So now that everything's heated, now I'm just going to gently make contact with the roller here, just to the point where it really starts pressing out a little bit. And then start rolling it back and forth. So usually I do like 1/8 of a turn each time. Just want to make sure there's not any major resistance against your hands here. So my battery ended up dying again. I think it's because of the heat maybe. Hotter camera burns the battery faster maybe. I don't know what happened, but long story short, I got the fender rolled. Everything came out great. Right here next to it. And I'll try to show you guys now, but I just wanted to talk a little bit longer about the fender rolling process. I can't stress enough how important adding heat and adding gradual pressure on the roller slowly over time. So, you know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 passes back and forth, add a little bit more tension. 3 or 4 passes back and forth, add a little more tension, and just take it really slow. So I'm gonna show you guys on the other side what happens if you don't take it slow. It's gonna be very difficult to see here. I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. But right here, where my thumb is, there's a little crack in the paint. And basically what happened was I pushed the fender too quickly on this side and rolled it too quickly and ended up just basically cracking the paint because either I did it too quickly or I didn't put enough heat in originally. So it's kind of one of the things that can happen. Also, I cleaned all my wheels. Awesome tire dressing, looked good. That's what I did yesterday afternoon after I finished fender rolling, but this is the result. And it's gonna be kind of hard to show you. But now, the top of my wheel and the top of the fender are almost perfectly flush. Where I used to have poke, now it's almost perfectly flush. Should I show you another angle here? Top of the tire, top of the wheel, almost perfect. Now if I compare that to what it used to be, I'll see if I have other footage on my overlay here, but if I don't, basically you can see that the wheel or the tire was poking out farther than before I rolled the fenders outwards. And overall, it doesn't really change the appearance of the car when you just do these small minor fender rolls. Compared to the fronts, you can really tell that the wheel and the tire is sunken in farther, which you want, especially in the front suspension, which handles bumps a lot more harshly than in the back. But that's okay. I wish I had rolled the fenders a little bit less in the front. Overall, I think it doesn't look too bad. I run a bit more camber in the front anyways. But yeah, overall, I think it looks really, really good. Really tucked in there. And that's pretty much the purpose of why fender rolling is necessary. So if you guys have made it to the end of the video, just to quick sum up everything, when do you have to roll your fenders? You should roll your fenders pretty much only when you don't really have any other option. So for me, my other option in the rears with this more extreme setup for the wheel and tire was to do lower aftermarket lower control arms, which have camber adjustment, but that costs, you know, $400 or $500, $600, but also I didn't want to run more camber in the rear. I like, this is perfect right at almost right between 2.5 degrees of camber in the rear. And it's just enough to look aggressive, but the handling, anything more in the rear, you're really gonna have a decrease in handling, and that's really not what I want. So I got really big fat 265 tires for a reason. I want to keep those in contact as much as I can with the street. So your other options, if you don't want to go that route like I did, you can roll your fenders, but you could also do a lower profile tire. You could also raise your car suspension back up, and then you could also choose a wheel with a lower offset or a lower overall width. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Only 20% of the people watching our videos are subscribed, which is crazy. So 80% of you guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.